How to make $10,000 a month wholesaling the pre-foreclosure list. If you are not actually going after pre-foreclosures in 2024, you're definitely behind the 8 ball. Pre-foreclosures are absolutely one of the most motivated sellers you can talk to if you can consistently pull the list, get a hold of these sellers, and get some great wholesaling deals. Now, the main problem is a lot of wholesalers aren't educated on the pre-foreclosure process, how to actually find these motivated sellers, and how exactly you can start making $10,000 a month. That's right, consistent wholesaling deals monthly by just following this simple pre-foreclosure wholesaling system. Most wholesalers are going to call this a crazy method and charge you tens of thousands of dollars for it, but I'm going to give it to you absolutely for free right now, step by step. Now, the first question we have to ask is, what is a pre-foreclosure? I remember as a beginner, pre-foreclosures were a confusing thing. I didn't know exactly what they were. It sounded stressful. I was like, I'm just going to avoid this and deal with people that don't owe anything on properties, or I don't have to deal with banks and all these crazy stressful things. I was paying the ignorance tax and I just didn't understand it, and I was leaving tens of thousands of dollars a month on the table by me not actively going after these type of properties. A pre-foreclosure is exactly what it sounds like. It is a foreclosure that is before, so the word foreclosure and pre, right? And foreclosure is basically the definition of a bank taking over someone's house when they're not paying their mortgage or their agreed to debt when they bought the house. Most people borrow money to buy a house, and if they don't pay the monthly payments, the bank takes the house over. Pre-foreclosure is the process before the foreclosure happens. This basically means most people sometimes forget to pay their mortgage for a month, but after the second or third missed payment, the bank tries to give them very nice warning saying, hey, we're gonna start the process of taking your house back. You need to pay it now or else. And usually after 100, 120 plus days, then they start the foreclosure process and they take the house. So the reason why pre-foreclosures are so good is you're dealing with sellers that aren't paying their mortgage payments, which means they're going to be motivated. You know, I think a lot of wholesalers watching this get so stressed out or annoyed that they're trying to reach out to motivated sellers, and these people, they don't want to sell their property. It's like, what do I do? But the cool part about a pre-foreclosure is all these people don't want to sell the property, they need to sell the property. And the reason why they need to sell the property is they're not paying the mortgage and they probably don't have the money for it, and they got to get out of the house. And they have some equity, which we can get the property locked up for. The seller gets some money, you can get some money, and we're all happy on the transaction here. Pre-foreclosures can yield a lot of great results and great wholesaling real estate assignment fee profits. Now, the thing with pre-foreclosures is because there's some tighter margins with the equity on these deals, you're not going to be making $150,000, $200,000 assignment fees. These are still going to be a decent amount, but they're going to be under $50K usually, $15,000, $20,000, $25,000 assignment fees. And yes, there's some $5,000, $4,000 ones in there too. But these are deals that are motivated, they happen quick, and you just got to find the sellers that want to sell and have them want to get rid of it now. Because there's a new month, a new mortgage payment, and a new opportunity for people to miss mortgage payments. Now, I don't get excited when somebody can't pay their mortgage, but it is an opportunity for us to help the seller out and for us to get paid a lot of money. And so really today, all you have to do is learn the process so you can just do one $10,000 wholesaling deal for a pre-foreclosure every month, and you'll hit 6 figures this year easily. Now, your main question here is going to be, how do I find pre-foreclosures? And I totally get it. As a beginner, it seemed very daunting and scary. Now, there's 2 main ways to find pre-foreclosures, the free way and the paid way. Now, the paid way is the easy way to do things. You can go to a service like listrei.com, zachdata.com, or heck, even dmzac.com. These are my favorite paid real estate wholesaling softwares that have the top-notch quality data. And you can just click the pre-foreclosure list and get it like that. Pre-foreclosure lists are not really complicated how these paid softwares do them. They do exactly what you have to do on the freeway. They scrape the public data, they find the list pendant section, or the notice to default, sometimes it's a notice of foreclosure, and they basically just do the public record information for you. Now, if you don't want to pay for a software, you can do it the free way, which is basically going to the county public records online, just searching it up, and going after that list pendants. That is a Latin legal term for when someone's moving forward with something, usually a commencement to foreclose on the property. Notice of default, I've seen notice of foreclosure before. They all got different names in every single city and county, because there's over 3,000 different counties that do these type of transactions, and you gotta go on the public records and find them. Usually what I find is the person actually doing this list pendants is gonna be a bank or a financial institution, and then the person is just gonna be another person. And if you click exactly on the case file, it's gonna say this person has not paid their mortgage and we're taking the property back. Or you just gotta read it and it really breaks it down from there. But really, as long as the bank filing a lawsuit or a public record on another person and there's an attached property or a deed to a property or a legal description, you know it's for a foreclosure on a piece of house. Usually it says this person is not paying and this is the bank and this is a copy of the mortgage. You know it's a pre-foreclosure. You just basically pull a list from there. You can put it in a spreadsheet, get their phone number from a website like truepeoplesearch.com, cyberbackgroundchecks.com is a great free skip tracing software. And honestly, if you're looking to skip trace now, the best quality data is gonna be zachdata.com. But if you're looking to pull a bunch, dmzac.com has basically got free unlimited skip tracing when you join them. So whatever one you want, go do it. Now, before I get into the specific marketing to motivate sellers in pre-foreclosure, I think it's really important that we understand the pre-foreclosure process. Right here is my entire pre-foreclosure process sheet where I break down step by step how this process works. It's important we understand how pre-foreclosures work before we start talking to sellers about them in the marketing. We don't understand the pre-foreclosure process, we can't explain it to the seller, and if we can't explain it to the seller, we're not gonna sound like we actually know what we're doing and we're not gonna get the wholesaling deal. Now, from start to finish, the pre-foreclosure process starts with what we call a pre-foreclosure. This is when the seller usually misses 1 to 3 payments. Nothing bad really happens here. Now, once we hit about 120 days, the bank starts filing notices of default or list pendants. Now, it's important on those first 3 months, they are gonna get scary letters to the bank saying, if you do nothing, we're gonna take the house over. But usually after the second missed payment, the seller's like, wow, I didn't have to pay $2,000 and nothing bad's happening, keep it up. But once we hit that 120 days, that's when the pre-foreclosure actually gets filed, and that is our time to strike. You're gonna see here on the chart, in between there is this next thing called the wholesaling window of time. This is the time right when that thing's filed for us to write up that contract, mark it to our motivated seller, assign the contract, get the property sold to a cash buyer before that auction date is set. Because once that's filed, a judge is gonna sign that off because they're always going to. And then an auction date is gonna be set for the property to be auctioned off. And once that date is set, it is way, way harder to get a wholesaling deal done. Not impossible, I never said that. I've done plenty of these type of deals, but it does get a lot more difficult. Usually once an auction date is set, that's when the seller wants to actually start selling their house. And it becomes a lot more difficult. Sellers in pre-foreclosure and foreclosure are like ostriches with their head in the sand. They do not want to hear about it. They don't want to talk about it. It's embarrassing for them, and they don't want your solution. They think they're going to get rich or they're going to get the money somehow, and they're going to hit the lottery, and it's all going to be okay. They're all in la land. You do not get in a pre-foreclosure situation from you being ahead of things and on top of everything. Usually things have to go really bad, and usually you're a big procrastinator. And these are the hardest type of sellers to deal with sometimes because you can't give them logic. Then once that auction date is set, the bank honestly just wants what's owed on it. So if the house is worth $300 and the person had an outstanding loan balance for $230, and if it sells for $290, what usually happens is the bank gets their $240, they give $50,000 to the seller, and they call it a day. The bank is not trying to foreclose on the property because they hate the seller. They just want what is owed to them, and they want to get that money back. They don't even want to do this. Usually, notice of default happens. If you can just pay them back what is owed, they'll just keep the mortgage going. They just want their money, and they want that loan to keep going. They don't really care foreclosing, and they're not a mean type of entity. The issue is most sellers will wait 3 to 7 days before the auction date to call you and say, okay, I'm ready to sell now. Because they realize, oh crap, the sheriff's coming up, people keep taking pictures of my house, and I'm not gonna be able to keep the property. Unfortunately, when there's 3 to 7 days left, it's very difficult. If you're in a state like California, it is very easy to kind of get extensions. But I'll tell you, in a state like me in Florida, it's a lot more difficult to do, and usually we don't like dealing with this type of properties. Now that's the pre-foreclosure process. We know our wholesaling window of opportunity, and we need to go out here and strike. So how do I market to these type of sellers and start getting wholesaling deals? Well, my favorite strategy for getting a hold of motivated sellers in pre-foreclosure is gonna be by SMS text blasting. I have to give you a really important thing. You're probably gonna say, wait, Zach, maybe I should cold call them, right? No. Do not cold call pre-foreclosures. I cannot stress this enough. Do not call pre-foreclosure sellers. The reason for this is pre-foreclosure sellers are getting calls from bank services, loan servicing companies, financial servicing companies, loan sharks, and all these crazy things. They usually never pick up their phone. That's why when you try to cold call a pre-foreclosure list, you're gonna get a 5 to 10% contact rate, not a 20, 30, 40% like you're used to. Because these people do not pick up their phones, but they do answer texts. So, SMS text blast. In my free wholesaling course, freewholesaling.com, I actually break down how to send hundreds of texts a day absolutely for free. And there's not an insane amount of pre-foreclosures in your county every single day, so you can text them all right now. Use my double whammy script that I provide in the free course, and you'll be well on your way to SMS text blasting like a pro. Now, the next one here, my other favorite strategy, is leaving sticky notes on these type of properties. That's right, go to the local dollar store, get a list of 30 or 40 pre-foreclosures, put a sticky note on their door. Write something like, hey, this is Zach, I had a quick question about your property, please give me a call back, put your Google Voice number, and slap that on the sticky note. A lot of people like door knocking pre-foreclosures, but honestly, that's probably not the best thing to be doing now. Just leave a sticky note, they're gonna call you back, and then have a conversation. Now, a lot of people get stressed out exactly how to have this conversation with a pre-foreclosure seller, and it's really not that difficult. Let's say I leave a sticky note, they try to call me, say, hey, I just got a call. Well, hey, my name is Zach, and I was actually put a sticky note on your property because me and my partner were looking to buy some houses in the area, and it seemed like your house we might have wanted to buy. I'm like, wait, how do you know my address? No, well, actually I put around 15 or 20 sticky notes in the Houston area. What was your address again? 123 Main Avenue. Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah, we are actually interested in selling that property. Are you looking to sell it by chance? And then you go from conversation from there. Most of the time they're gonna say, no, I'm not looking to sell it. But the cool part about the way you approach pre-foreclosure sellers is just like probates or any type of situation. Do not do what the conventional gurus tell you to do. The conventional wholesaling real estate gurus tell you, hey, I know you're behind on your mortgage and I want to buy your house. You do not want to embarrass the seller, and you telling them that you know they're in a pre-foreclosure is not gonna come off the right foot. Like in a probate saying, hey, I saw your dad died, let me buy his house. That's not a good way of doing business at all, even if that's what you actually want to do. Just leave it simple, and if they want to get out and they don't want to deal with it, just giving them an easy out to get out of the situation. Hey, Mr. Seller, are you looking to sell the house? Me and my partner were looking to buy a couple more in the area, and it seemed like an area your house seemed like something we might want to buy. Are you looking to sell it at all? And if they are open to it, go ahead, write the contract, get the deal done. If they're not, no big deal, on to the next one. Do not try to force something with the seller. If they want to deal with it, let them deal with it. If they don't, don't. The only thing you have to be really on top of things with is going to be with follow-ups. If they say they don't know or they're possibly thinking about it, with a pre-foreclosure seller, you're going to text and hammer them probably every single week until that auction date is set and get the deal done. There's going to be a lot of situations with pre-foreclosures where you know they need to get rid of the property, but they just don't go with you and they let the property foreclose on. It's out of your control. Now, the last thing you have to understand here is how equity works with these type of sellers. I know as a beginner this was really confusing, and it's really not that complicated. If the seller owes 200 grand on the house, and you can calculate, you could probably sell this deal for 240 to a cash buyer, and they want 220 for the house, you write up the deal for 220, and you sell it to a cash buyer for 240. You make $20,000 in profit. What you have to understand here is because 200 grand was owed from the bank, 200,000 of that 220 the cash buyer is going to give goes to the bank, and the seller gets 20,000. To make this make more sense, if I write up contract for 220, sell for 240 to a cash buyer, at closing, cash buyer gives $240,000 to the title company gives me $20,000, gives the bank $200,000 and $20,000 to the seller. Easy and simple like that. Now, if the seller owed 250 and the house is only worth 230, there's nothing I can do. That's a negative equity situation. Now, we can do a subject to and other creative financing strategies I teach in freewholesaling.com, but really, there's nothing much you can do. Make sure what is owed is less than what a buyer is willing to buy it for, and try to find some margins in between there for you to make money in wholesaling real estate. Pre-foreclosures are an extremely lucrative opportunity for you to get rich wholesaling real estate in 2024, and I highly recommend you go out here and do it. If you want to learn more step-by-step and actually look over my shoulder, me actually pulling pre-foreclosure lists absolutely for free, step-by-step, I can't actually share it on YouTube due to the privacy policies anymore, but guess what? My free wholesaling course, freewholesaling.com, I'll show you exactly how to do it step-by-step. If you got any value from this video, do me a favor, make sure you smash that like button, subscribe, and I'll see you soon. This is Zach Ginn signing out. Have a blessed one.